So good news if your skint is out, but also fancy yourself a bit of 5G ready budget smartphone action, because Oppo has just launched two of the buggers here in the UK, the Oppo A54 5G and the Oppo A74 5G. Both pleasingly affordable considering the specs you get packed inside and that 5G support as well. 219 quid for the A54, 249 quid for the A74. So what we're going to do in this video is focus on the A74, see if it's worth that little bump in price. You get some extra memory in there, faster charging support as well. So this is my full unboxing and tour as well. I'm going to test out the gaming chops and tour the rest of the specs and everything as well. We'll be giving you a full review of the A74 as well. And if you want to know more about the A54, go check out my separate unboxing of that. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So you'll be able to grab the Oppo A74 5G direct from Oppo or also from Amazon, and here in the UK you'll be able to get it from the 3 network. It's just a sneaky tease of some of the specs. As you can see there, you don't just get a battery, you get a mega battery! You also get a very thrilling completely white USB cable and also very white PSU. You've also actually got some headphones bundled in there as well, although they are just your basic ear scrapers, nothing too extravagant. They are 3.5mm though, because you do actually get a headphone jack here on the Oppo A74. And oh yeah, you knows it, Oppo has also bundled a rubber Johnny case in there as well to keep your Oppo A74 free of damage. Alright, so that's all the highly thrilling content of the box. Now let's check out the actual Oppo A74 5G itself, which is a pretty standard size in 2021 at 6.49 inches. It's 190-gram chassis, so it's got a decent little heft to it, pretty standard again. The back end of the Oppo A74 is constructed from plastic rather than Gorilla Glass, which you do get on a handful of rivals at this sort of price point, but it seems nice and sturdily constructed. And this is the fluid black model. Not sure what fluids are involved exactly, but you can also pick it up in space silver if you want something a little lighter. I do quite like the design. I'm not usually a fan of black smartphones, but it does have this kind of aura about it. It's very funky when you tilt it to light. As you can see there, you get all kinds of patterns reflecting off that shiny arse end. My only worry is that it is a glossy finish to that back end, so that's going to pick up your scuffs, your finger grease, all that kind of stuff, so it's probably going to look a bit grubby after a day of handling. You're going to have to be constantly buffing it up. Nothing particularly stand out about the Oppo A74 design apart from that you've got your usual edge-mounted fingerprint sensors, which make a big comeback in 2021, always great to see. And of course, yes, praise the baby Jesus, you do have that headphone jack down below. And while there was no mention of what the actual display is constructed of, there was certainly no mention of Gorilla Glass in the specs or anything like that. You do at least get a pre-installed screen protector slapped on there just to help protect it from scratches and scuffs. As for the SIM tray, well, let's just give it a bit of a poke and yank it on out. Oh, it's a bit stiff. And there we go. What you've got there is support for dual SIMs side by side, and you've also got a separate slot for your micro SD memory cards to expand the storage. Alright, so let's get the Oppo A74 5G all set up, and then we can tour the rest of it. Alrighty, so the Oppo A74 5G all set up and ready for action, and there is quite a lot of setup involved because even though it's Android 11, you do have to reinstate features such as the apps drawer and the notifications pull down option as well, because you've got the ColorOS 11 launcher slathered on top. That does change up the look and feel quite a bit. And ColorOS definitely raises quite mixed opinions, shall we say. It is quite clunky in places such as the settings menu, which is just so utterly dense. I do often have to resort to that search bar just to find what I'm looking for. So for instance, to get the gesture navigation on board, you do have to find the navigation section, which is buried away in the convenience tools. Not very convenient at all, ironically. On the plus side though, you do get some great features chucked into ColorOS. So for instance, customizing your Android smartphone is nice and easy this way. You can quick and easily change up the wallpapers, the icons, the fonts. You've even got a ringtone maker, which takes me back to my younger days of getting a bit of 8-bit tunage action on the go on my Nokia 3310, I think it was. And yeah, quickly and easily change up those wallpapers, so you can of course use one of your family if you're not a massive anime geek unlike me. You jump on into the convenience tools section where you find that navigation support stuff. You've got plenty of other gestures in here as well, like raise to wake, which is good when coupled with that face unlock. And while we're passing the storage section as well, you got 128 gigs packed inside the Oppo A74 5G, and that is of course expandable as well via micro SD memory cards. And there are a few other ColorOS features that I'll touch on later when appropriate, the likes of game space, yada yada. And then yeah, on the security front, you got that edge-mounted fingerprint sensor, pretty standard for budget blows in 2021. And so far, touchwood seems nice and nippy and responsive. As you can see there, just tap your digit against it, you're straight away unlocked into your desktops. And they can be backed with a good bit of face unlock as well, so let's just get that all set up. Wow, that was super nippy. Now, does it actually work? Let's give it a go. Yes, it does, and it's so fast, don't even see that lock screen. Love it. And as I mentioned before, the Oppo A74 does support raise to wake as well, so you just have to literally pick up your smartphone, stare at it, and you're straight in. And what you got slapped here on the front end of the Oppo A74 5G is a 6.49-inch LTPS display, quite similar to an IPS panel, so not quite an OLED. Unfortunately, you don't have that super sharp contrast. There's no HDR support here. Touchwood seems reasonably bright. You got nice wide viewing angles and everything as well. And yeah, you got that selfie orifice, which is rather gaping there in the corner, but at least it is shunted away into the corner. Quite punchy colors though, considering it's not an OLED, and you do have fast 90Hz refresh support as well. Although I've got to say, because you've got that rather heavy ColorOS launcher on there, certainly when you're zipping around the desktops and such forth, it doesn't feel like a 90Hz panel. And there's no dynamic option in there either. It's either 60 or 90Hz manually set, though at least it is set to 90Hz by default. After all, you do have that mega battery packed inside the Oppo A74, so hopefully it shouldn't be drained much faster. Now let's turn our attention to the audio, and unfortunately it is just a mono speaker setup here on the Oppo A74 5G. No stereo speaker action, but let's see what we got here.
With the Roku Express 4K come with voice control, unfortunately, which is a real shame. You have to...
And yeah, the top volume isn't super powerful, and things do get a bit tinny once you bump it up to that maximum level as well. So if you want to be enjoying a bit of TechSpurt or something, I'd definitely say just get plugged in via that headphone jack. Otherwise, you do get the usual Bluetooth wireless support as well. So let's move on to performance. And what you got running the show here on the Oppo A74 5G is Qualcomm's Snapdragon 480 chipset. And that's one of Qualcomm's most affordable 5G-ready platforms, launched back at the start of 2021. And as you can see from the Geekbench 5 scores, pretty similar results to what I just got from the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 5G, another 5G-ready smartphone at the same sort of price point. But that one rocked the Mediatek Dimensity 700 chipset. While that phone only had 4 gigs RAM, you got 6 gigs stuffed inside of the Oppo A74. So let's try out a bit of gaming, see how it handles that. Certainly expect the Snapdragon 480 to be able to handle at the very least likes of PubG and Call of Duty Mobile. And as usual with a bit of ColorOS action, you do have the Game Assistant tools, which you can call up at any time. This adds all kinds of bonus features, including the ability to reject calls, block notifications. I'm going to change up the performance mode as well, so we've got the Pro Gamer mode on the go. Hopefully make the most of that Snapdragon 480 and the Adreno 619 GPU. And as you can see there, you've got the option of getting the graphics quality very high, but I'm actually going to max out the frame rate, which then does bump that down to the high level. And on those highest frame rate settings, I definitely noticed a couple of moments where the Oppo A74 5G's frame rate did drop. Usually when I was yanking out my weapon or some inopportune moment like that. But other than that, quite a smooth experience. The 180Hz touch sampling means nice and responsive. Every poke and jab is instantly replicated on screen. But I will be fully tested out the gaming chops of the Oppo A74 5G for my full review, including how it copes with longer sessions. And of course, one of the benefits of that Snapdragon 480, as I mentioned before, is that 5G support built in there, actually straight onto the platform itself. So you've got that nice nippy connectivity. Great news if you want to get gaming online when you're out and about. And here's hoping that that mega battery keeps you going all day as well. Again, I'll be testing that out for my full Oppo A74 review. And while the 18-watt fast charging isn't exactly super nippy, that is still a match for recent rivals like the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 5G. You do have smart charging technology packed in here as well, so if you are plugging in the A74, leaving it charging all night long, it won't overcharge that battery and potentially f it up in the long term. And let's finish up as usual with a squint at the camera tech. And we got here slapped on the back is actually a quad lens setup headed up by a 48 megapixel shooter. Now we'll be fully testing out the Oppo A74's camera tech for my in-depth review, but for now let's just have a quick tour of that camera UI. And what you get right here is shooting 12 megapixel photos by default. Using a bit of pixel binning, as you can see up there, you've got HDR support as well as usual AI shenanigans, all that good stuff. But if you drag down the camera sub-menu, you do have the option to shoot at that maxed out 48 meg resolution if you like. If you want a pulled out viewpoint where you got that 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens as well, which hopefully will keep the colors reasonably natural along with that 48 megapixel primary sensor. Again, I'll be fully testing that out. Don't get too excited about the remaining 2 lenses slapped on the back though, because all you've got is a 2 megapixel macro lens and a 2 megapixel monochrome lens. In other words, just extra gumph to sort of bump up the number of lenses to make it sound more impressive. You've got all the bonus modes that we know and love, including of course a bit of portrait mode action with beautification smart. So if you fancy a bit of that shenanigans, you can change up the level of bokeh as well. And yeah, you do have filters that you can play around with, including a bit of monochrome as well if you want to get an arty-farty shot on the go. You've also got a night mode if you've got a bit of low light ambient action on the go. And if you flick to more, you've got a handful of extra bonus stuff in there, including the full-on pro mode. If you know what you're doing, you want to change up the likes of the shutter speed, the ISO levels. As for video, where hell, you're shooting at 1080p Full HD resolution by default, but you can change that up by diving into the settings, scrolling down to the bottom here. I've got to admit, I was kind of hoping to find a 4K option in there, but sadly that is not to be. So just like the Redmi Note 10 5G, you can only shoot at full HD max. And last up, if we flip to the front, you've got a 16 megapixel front-facing selfie snapper right there tucked away in the corner. Got the usual portrait, action, all that good stuff as well. And sweet baby Jesus, I think I'm gonna get an early night tonight because I definitely need my beauty sleep. So there you have it. That is the Oppo A74 5G whistle stop tour. As I say, my SIM is already slapped in and I'm gonna be using it as my full-time smartphone for the next week or so ahead of my in-depth review. So stay tuned on that for more on whether that camera tech's any good, if the battery life really is mega good, and just see how the Oppo A74 handles life in general. Now, I've unboxed and reviewed plenty of other budget 5G smartphones, including the likes of the Realme 8 5G, right here on TechSperts. Go check those out for a closer look at some of the Oppo A74's biggest rivals. And I'm also going to be unboxing the Oppo A54 as well to see exactly how that one stacks up. So for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a fantastic rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.